You are now ready to face the bottom edge of your project with the bias tape facing. Find the spool of 1 inch wide bias tape. Use the ruler to measure out 14 inches. Mark using a pencil. Use fabric scissors to cut off the 14-inch length. Because the tape is cut on the bias, it has a tendency to come off the roll with a slight curve. Because we want to use it on a straight edge, use the iron to straighten it out. Use your fingers to open the fold along one side. Place your project flat on the table with the wrong side down, the right side facing up. You should not see the line. Place the bias tape with the right side down along the bottom edge of the project. The open side should be nearest to the bottom edge. The bias tape should hang off each left and right edge about 1 inch. Match the crease of the fold in the bias with the line drawn a 1/2 inch down from the bottom edge of the fabric behind it. Pin along this line. Notice that the two seam allowances are not the same length. Pin from one end to the other, being sure that the crease line matches the stitch line the entire length and that the fabric and bias tape both lie flat together. Check your machine settings. The stitch width should be set to 0, the stitch length should be set to 3. Line the crease line up with the needle, lower the presser foot, hold the beginning threads, stitch 2 or 3 stitches, backstitch 2 or 3 stitches before continuing to sew along the crease line. Stop and remove any pins as needed. Continue sewing until you reach the other end of the fabric. When you reach the edge of the fabric, backstitch 2 or 3 stitches, sew to the edge, check that the needle is in the upright position, lift the presser foot, pull the work out towards the back, and clip the threads close to the work. Clip the threads at the beginning of the seam as well. Bring your work to the ironing table and press the seam flat. Fold the bias tape out and press along the seam. Turn the work over so that the wrong side is facing up. Turn each end of the bias tape in and press so that the crease is even with the edge of the fabric. Fold the bias tape toward the wrong side of the fabric and press it so that the seam is just below the crease line. We want to be sure that from the right side, the bias tape will not be visible. Be sure that the ends are folded in and that the fold along the edge of the bias is turned under, and pin the bias tape down flat. Place the fabric under the presser foot so that the needle is about 1/16 of an inch in from the edge. When using the number 1 Bernina foot, you can use the inner edge of the presser foot as a guide. Match the edge of the bias tape with that inner edge. Hold the 2 beginning threads, stitch 2 or 3 stitches, backstitch 2 or 3 stitches, and continue sewing using the foot's inner edge as a guide. Stop and remove pins as you come to them. Continue stitching until you reach the other edge of the fabric. When you reach the edge of the fabric, backstitch 2 or 3 stitches, then to the edge. Lift the presser foot, be sure the needle is up, pull the work back and out. Clip the threads close to the work, and clip the threads at the beginning of your work as well. Check that your stitching is straight and even from both sides. Press your work, and you have finished with the facing. With a permanent marker or laundry pen, write your name in the bottom right-hand corner of your project. You have finished project 2.